There is a reason some Motown songs feel sad even when they are not supposed to.
Ain't no river wide enough.
Because behind those records were artists watching their careers quietly disappear while somebody else became the future of the label. Some had bigger voices. Some had the hits first. Some helped build Motown itself. But once Diana Ross and the Supremes became the priority, everything changed. Albums vanished. Careers stalled. People got erased. And one of these stories ends with the woman who helped create the Supremes dying, almost completely forgotten. By the end of this video, you will never hear Motown the same way again. 9. Mary Wells, My Guy, 1964. Before Diana Ross became the face of Motown, Mary Wells was already proving that a black female singer could carry the label into mainstream America. That is what makes her story feel so painful in hindsight. Mary Wells represents betrayal after trust. She trusted Motown before Motown fully became Motown. At just 17 years old, she walked into Berry Gordy's office carrying a song she had written for Jackie Wilson. She was not even trying to become a star herself. But once Gordy heard her sing, everything changed immediately. Soon came hit after hit. Two Lovers, The One Who Really Loves You, You Beat Me to the Punch. Then My Guy exploded in 1964 and briefly interrupted Beatlemania itself. Sit with that for a second. Before the Supremes dominated the decade, Mary Wells was already carrying the label commercially. But once Diana Ross and the Supremes became Motown's chosen future, the emotional temperature around Mary shifted. Then she discovered her contract only paid 2.7% royalties. Imagine helping build an empire while barely sharing in its rewards financially. That kind of betrayal changes how a person hears applause. She sued, won, and walked away from Motown. But afterward, the momentum disappeared frighteningly fast. Whether the label intentionally froze her out or not, Mary Wells suddenly felt abandoned by the very machine she helped build. And honestly, once you know that story, My Guy stops sounding carefree. It starts sounding fragile. And the scary part is, Mary Wells was not the only artist at Motown who slowly realized success did not guarantee protection. 8. Brenda Holloway, Every Little Bit Hurts, 1964.
I wonder why you treat me cold, yet you...
Brenda Holloway's pain sounds different because it is not dramatic heartbreak. It is emotional exhaustion. The kind adults recognize immediately because it sounds like somebody tired of carrying disappointment quietly for too long. Berry Gordy discovered Holloway at a Los Angeles party while she was still a teenager. And for a moment it seemed obvious she would become one of Motown's next major stars. Then Every Little Bit Hurts arrived in 1964 and immediately felt emotionally older than most heartbreak records surrounding it. Brenda did not sing like somebody begging to be loved. She sounded worn down already. That subtle difference changes the entire emotional weight of the song. That kind of sadness ages better than theatrical pain because real emotional fatigue stays with people for life. You do not outgrow it. But once the Supremes became Motown's obsession, Brenda Holloway increasingly felt difficult for the label to market. Too raw. Too emotionally textured. Too forceful in ways Motown not smooth into crossover perfection. Her second album was shelved despite already being completed.
You're the boy who has to say when I should play.
Think about how crushing that must feel psychologically. Spending months recording music only to realize your own label no longer knows what to do with you. Eventually, she walked away from the industry almost entirely. Not with public collapse, not with scandal, just tired. And there is something deeply human about that ending, because sometimes exhaustion does not explode publicly. Sometimes it simply disappears from the room without warning. Some voices are too polished to reveal damage clearly. Brenda Holloway was not one of them. You could hear the tiredness immediately. 7. Martha and the Vandellas, Dancing in the Street 1964. Martha Reeves represents delayed recognition, which creates one of the most frustrating emotional wounds an artist can experience. Because delayed recognition teaches people that even success can arrive at the wrong time. Martha began at Motown answering phones as a secretary before accidentally stepping into a recording session that changed her life forever. Soon, Martha and the Vandellas became one of the label's most alive groups. Their records moved differently from the Supremes. Heatwave felt physical. Nowhere to Run sounded like anxiety turning itself into movement. Dancing in the Street became larger than music during the civil rights era because people heard freedom and release inside it, whether Motown intended that or not. The song sounded like bodies refusing to stay emotionally trapped. But despite all that momentum, the group repeatedly found themselves waiting behind the Supremes' machine. The clearest example was Jimmy Mack, recorded in 1964, shelved for years, then finally released in 1967, where it still became a major hit. Think about the emotional contradiction there. You are finally good enough to compete, and that becomes the exact reason your moment gets delayed. That kind of interruption changes artists psychologically because it teaches them not to trust momentum anymore. You stop trusting timing itself. And honestly, some careers never fully recover from emotional interruption because once artists begin questioning whether their best moments will always arrive too late. Confidence slowly starts leaking out of the room. Motown loved momentum, but only certain momentum was allowed to grow uninterrupted. 6. Gladys Knight and the Pips. I Heard It Through the Grapevine 1967. Gladys Knight's story is painful because it is about being emotionally overshadowed by another version of your own truth. Her recording of I Heard It Through the Grapevine is not simply a heartbreak song. It is a humiliation song. The emotional core is not sadness. It is the sick feeling of realizing everybody around you knew the truth before you did. And Gladys understood that instinctively. Listen closely to her voice on the record. She sounds wounded, but she refuses to collapse emotionally inside the song. There is pride still fighting to survive. That tension is what made the performance extraordinary. The record became a massive success and briefly stood as Motown's biggest selling single ever. Then Marvin Gaye's haunting version arrived a year later, and history slowly reassigned emotional ownership of the song. Both versions are masterpieces, but Marvin's became immortalized, while Gladys slowly drifted into the background of public memory. Imagine carrying that quietly for decades, creating one of the defining records of your career only to watch cultural memory hand the emotional spotlight to somebody else. Overshadowing creates a loneliness rejection almost never does, because rejection at least acknowledges your presence clearly. Overshadowing makes people feel replaceable inside their own accomplishments. That is why Gladys eventually sounded so emotionally free on Midnight Train to Georgia. That record feels like somebody finally stepping outside the pressure of comparison and choosing emotional truth over validation. There is a particular loneliness that comes from watching history slowly hand your moment to somebody else. 5. Kim Weston, It Takes Two, 1967. Kim Weston represents quiet erasure, which may be one of the coldest forms of pain in the music industry because it happens slowly enough that people barely notice it while it is occurring. Weston had everything needed to become a major Motown star: gospel-trained power, sophistication, emotional control. And when she partnered with Marvin Gaye, the chemistry felt effortless. It Takes Two still sounds joyful because neither artist dominates emotionally. They sound balanced, equal. Like two people genuinely enjoying each other inside the music instead of competing for attention. That emotional equality gave the record warmth. But equality inside Motown became fragile once certain acts were prioritized above everyone else. At the exact moment It Takes Two was gaining momentum, Kim Weston and her husband Mickey Stevenson left Motown feeling undervalued and overlooked. And here is the painful part. The machine barely paused. Marvin was paired with Tammi Terrell and history continued moving immediately. That is what quiet erasure feels like emotionally, not destruction. Something softer and colder than that. One day people stop mentioning your name in stories you helped create. Over time, history itself starts feeling incomplete without realizing anything is missing. That kind of disappearance can be psychologically devastating because artists do not just want success. They want acknowledgement that their presence mattered uniquely. Quiet erasure steals that certainty from people little by little until even memory itself begins feeling unstable. And once enough artists start feeling interchangeable inside a system, something colder begins settling into the building. 4. The Spinners, It's a Shame, 1970. The Spinners represent neglect, and neglect damages people differently because it slowly teaches them not to expect belief anymore.
It's a shame the way you hurt me.
Motown signed the group in the early 60s and kept them there for nearly a decade without fully investing in them.
Standing all alone by the tail of home.
8 years of watching other acts receive bigger opportunities, bigger promotional pushes, bigger faith. Imagine how psychologically exhausting that becomes over time. Because neglect is repetitive.
It's a shame the way you mess around with your man just like.
It keeps asking artists to remain hopeful while quietly proving hope may not matter. Then Stevie Wonder produced It's a Shame in 1970, and suddenly listeners could hear what had always been there. Sophisticated harmonies, emotional maturity, real vulnerability underneath polish. The song became the group's biggest Motown hit, but the label still failed to properly build around their momentum. No major infrastructure, no aggressive support, no sustained belief. Eventually, the Spinners left for Atlantic Records and immediately exploded commercially afterward. I'll Be Around. Could It Be I'm Falling in Love? Hit after hit, which makes the emotional truth unavoidable. The talent was never missing. The belief around the talent was, and people can feel when they are surviving inside somebody else's afterthought. Neglect slowly trains artists to lower their expectations emotionally just to protect themselves from disappointment. That is why the Spinners' later success feels almost emotional in itself. It sounds like relief. Like finally entering a room where people saw their value before they had to beg for it repeatedly. The thing about neglect is that it rarely looks cruel from the outside while it is happening. 3. Florence Ballard, Stop in the Name of Love. Florence Ballard's story may be the most emotionally devastating on this list because humiliation and abandonment together can completely destroy a person's relationship with themselves. Florence was not just another Supreme. She helped create the group itself. She chose the name. She brought the members together. And according to many people around Motown, including Marvin Gaye, she may have possessed the strongest raw voice among them. But once Diana Ross became Motown's chosen centerpiece, Florence slowly found herself pushed toward the margins of a group she helped build with her own hands. Public criticism followed. Fat-shaming followed. Emotional isolation followed. And here is what people underestimate about humiliation. You can sometimes hear confidence leaving artists in real time across different recordings and performances. Something inside them tightens emotionally. By 1967, Florence was removed from the Supremes entirely. Then came shelved solo material, financial collapse, lawsuits, foreclosure, welfare assistance. Her life unraveled frighteningly fast afterward. She died at just 32 years old. Sit with that for a second. The woman who named the Supremes died while the group continued succeeding without her. That is not just abandonment. That is a Rosher witnessed publicly. And maybe that is why Florence Ballard's story still unsettles people decades later. Because underneath all the glamour of Motown sits the uncomfortable reality that even people essential to building history can still end up emotionally discarded by it. By this point, the music still sounded beautiful, but the stories underneath it were getting harder to ignore. 2. Tammi Terrell.
Need me, call me, no matter where you are, no matter.
Tammi Terrell represents stolen becoming, which is the grief of a future interrupted before it fully had the chance to arrive. And honestly, that kind of sadness hits differently because it leaves people mourning potential as much as reality.
'Cause baby, there ain't no mountain high enough.
Tammi already carried ambition before Motown shaped her image. She toured with James Brown, studied pre-med, and moved through the world like someone whose life still held multiple futures at once.
I told you could always count on me.
Then came the duets with Marvin Gaye, and together they created some of the warmest records Motown ever released.
Ain't no river wide enough to keep me.
Ain't No Mountain High Enough feels joyful on the surface, but underneath it is reassurance. Two people promising emotional stability against uncertainty. That tenderness is why the records still feel alive today. Then, in 1967, Tammi collapsed into Marvin's arms during a live performance. Brain tumor. Suddenly, every duet became haunted retroactively because listeners now hear fragility hiding inside all that joy. During her illness, Motown reportedly continued releasing Marvin and Tammi records while protecting the illusion that everything remained normal publicly. But the deepest sadness remains unavoidable.
Ain't no valley low enough.
Tammi Terrell never truly got the chance to fully become herself artistically before illness overtook her future forever. She died at only 24 years old, and that is why her music still hurts so deeply today.
As far back as I can remember hearing music and hearing people sing and perform, I just knew that it's what I wanted to do, so I started singing in church.
Because you are not just hearing love songs anymore. You are hearing somebody in the middle of becoming who they were supposed to be before time interrupted the process completely. And maybe that is what makes Motown history so emotionally complicated. Even the people creating the magic were often carrying pain the audience could not see yet. 1. Holland Dozier Holland.
Now if you feel that you can't go on.
They helped represent creative betrayal, the pain of helping build a kingdom you are never fully allowed to share ownership of.
Until happiness is destined.
Ryan Holland, Lamont Dozier, and Eddie Holland were not simply successful songwriters. They were architects of Motown's emotional identity. Baby Love, Stop, In the Name of Love, Reach Out, I'll Be There, Heatwave. Their writing shaped the emotional language of 60s soul music itself. These were not just catchy songs. They were records engineered around emotional instinct, tension, release, desire, heartbreak, joy. Holland, Dozier, Holland understood how to make listeners feel emotionally understood within 3 minutes. But eventually, disputes over compensation and profit sharing fractured the relationship between the trio and Berry Gordy. And that emotional contradiction is difficult to ignore. Imagine helping build one of the most successful music companies in American history while still fighting to receive fair participation in what your creativity generated. That changes how people emotionally process success forever, because achievement without ownership eventually begins feeling hollow. Once Holland, Dozier, Holland left Motown, the damage became immediate. The label still produced hits afterward, but something emotionally invincible disappeared from the records. The machine still functioned. It just no longer felt untouchable in the same way. That is the deeper truth underneath this entire story. Magnificence often leaves damage standing quietly behind it, while history keeps applauding the spotlight in front. Motown gave us timeless music, but behind those records were stories most people never heard. If this video changed the way you hear these songs, make sure to like the video and subscribe to R&B Vault for more deep dives into classic R&B and soul history. And if you want another story the music industry never fully told, click the video popping up on your screen right now. I'll see you there.